So, in the last video, I've talked about Small Wolf and what is gonna happen after what happened to him before the events of Chapter 3 of Nightmare of Nature. Um, Now I'm gonna talk about another character that is gonna be heavily related to Small Wolf, but more as a um what's the right word? More of a support sort of standards, if you know what I mean. So I'm going to talk about Smiling Hyena, who's obviously another one of the subjects from the labs of Laughter Incorp. I don't know when I can't remember what I named it in the last video. But basically, in that laboratory, in the middle of nowhere, between a theme park and a village, basically, simple as that. So obviously, Smiling Hyena was born in Africa, more specifically Kenya, and he was actually he was relatively old when they captured him. Keep this in mind. And again, it's the same way that they did it last time. They watched over them basically, and then they napped them after a certain amount of time watching them and stuff basically. Um, Now the differences between Small Wolf and Smiling Hyena is obviously it's kind of common. Obviously, Small Wolf is a wolf, and then Smiling Hyena is a hyena. More specifically, a spotted hyena. Keep that in mind. And well, Smiling Hyena after the whole transfer to the whole the to what he is now basically as the experiment. Um, he technically is the well at the time he was one of the older sorts basically one of the older subjects basically. And although, yeah, it's very unfortunate that like back in the day, like if you think about it in real life, you've got those the whole conspiracy of like experimenting with animals and shit, and then you got like this, which is a little bit worse, but at the same time, like to them, they're doing something that they wanted to do. That they wanted to test on stuff since obviously the technology was so damn nearly limitless, and yeah, this is how it was. However, what was very apparent with what was very apparent with Smiling Hyena was he was very caring, but at the same time he was ruthless against some opponents, basically. That's how I describe it, anyways. I never explained about what Smaller Wolf's personality is like. And the only way I can describe Smaller Wolf's personality is like between like certain events. So it was like before the whole kidnapping, he was like cute and playful, and then after the experimentation and after like he got kidnapped, he was a bit scared and shy. Then months after that, he was like ill-fitted with essentially rage. Smiling Hyena, on the other hand, was somewhat the opposite. Because obviously how hyenas work in like nature, basically in their native lands, they're a little bit complex. With Smiling Hyena, he was actually thankful when he got out of there, but he was a little bit like he was scared, but he was very like he didn't care. He got out of there at least. And at that point, after that point on, he was essentially one of the main three subjects people would say, like the scientists anyways, they would categorize each and every one of them, like every subject, in like a 3-tier system. And like there's only one tier which is only allowed like for like limited few. And Smiling Hyena was one of the more successful ones. It was the same thing with Smaller Wolf, except, well, he technically wasn't successful because of how he was right after like a few months of torture, basically. And there was a third one in that list, but we'll get to him, like, yeah, I think it's a... Yes, we'll get to him in the next video, maybe. It depends on what happens in the meantime. But I still feel tired. Basically, right after the events of him being used for what he is in now, which is like his anthropomorphic state, basically he just literally went like, he's very caring, like I said. He's more of a brother figure to Smaller Wolf, like nowadays, anyways. But unfortunately he was a little bit dim-witted at the same time when it comes to some subjects. So, for example, let me think of one. So, like, he kind of forgot. Throughout his time, he actually completely forgot how old he was at first. Same thing with Small Wolf. They basically, like, completely forgot how old they were. They never knew about their past, essentially. The only thing that they knew of was essentially their family. That was it. They never knew. They never had. They never remembered about their like past events, which is what makes them a little bit like, you know, what they are now. But what happens with Smiling Hyena in the story, on the other hand, this is not canon. This part, anyways, isn't canon. But the rest of the stuff I've said is technically canon. What's canon? What's not canon is obviously what I explained with the story of Smile Wolf and Smiling Hyena's beginnings, basically. But however, in 2014, they actually did one of those like basically an uprising against the scientists, basically. Now, the only thing is, keep in mind, the only thing is, with this event, it stirred a lot of controversy in the UK government, which obviously pissed off quite a few people. And in not really much of a surprise, with not much of a surprise, it got noticed. And then it turned into a bit of a nationwide incident where there was quite a few people essentially questioning what the hell's happened in the forest. Essentially, again, like I said, it was a massive uprising with nearly all the subjects essentially attacking the scientists, and they've broken out. They find after about a week of uprising and essentially like killing everyone off. That's not them. They never killed each other, but they killed the scientists, basically. But they essentially escaped, and they finally got fresh air in their lungs for the first time. And the story of the events of the third chapter is, like I said, it's not going to be talked about in these character bio episodes until after I explain the main events. But either way, after after that sort of stuff, after that event, they finally got used to what they are now, which in fact they found out that they were just some experiments that they wanted to test some chemicals on. They still were a little bit pissed. They want revenge. So what they did was they planned they planned for about a year and then the idea was for them was to make others like them. So what they did was, again, keep in mind this isn't canon to what their actual story is like, and like if the story didn't exist, they would have just broken out and then they just went loose. That's it. But this one, they wanted, in this story anyways, they wanted proper revenge. So what they did as their payback was they actually given threats, like threatening like notes all over the village, which was right next to them. They didn't went to the theme park until another week after they've exited, like, you know, they've escaped and actually done damage to that mansion. They made the mansion their own. They've used the labs as a storage facility for food essentially, and then again they just ran rampant around the foresty areas and then did whatever they want after. However, basically, yeah, that's it really. Again, like I said, Smiling Hyena is one of those characters where he's a nice guy and people would describe him as a bit of a brute. As in, like, he's really strong, but he's very slow at the same time. So, he's a very, like I said, he's a tough individual, and if you ever fight him, then yeah, you're fucked. He'll like you just snap you in half. It's not very fun. I wouldn't recommend it. Anyways, that's about it, I guess. Very small, short, obviously. I don't want the stories to be extremely long. I haven't actually thought of the stories properly for these guys as of yet, but like I said, most of the events that would happen between these characters would be after the events of Chapter 3, which is the main show, or the main events, basically. So I'll talk, like I said, I'll talk about that right after the whole character profile information, so I can talk about their past, basically, and yeah. Anyways, thank you very much for watching, you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this one again. Like I said, the next character we're gonna talk about is actually a character that's gonna be a pain in the ass to explain, because trust me, it's just gonna be a tough one, basically. Anyways, thank you very much for watching this video, guys, and I'll see you all next time.